Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guests are top real estate investors Angelo and Gene Schroeder of Bank On It and those flipping guys based out of Weston, Florida. Gene and Angelo have been flipping deals together since 2001 via their company Reef Properties, LLC. They moved to their Weston, Florida office in 2003 and formed Bank On It, which is the premier buyer and seller of distressed properties in Florida. They work with a team of energetic, like-minded investors and realtors and flip 10 to 15 properties per month. This includes all types of properties such as homes, condos, land, and apartment buildings. Additionally, they try to acquire a few deals per year for their rental portfolio. They like the quick lump sum profits that flipping properties affords, coupled with the long-term residual profits from the rentals. As successful entrepreneurs, they have been involved in all facets of the business. All right, with all that said, Angelo and Gene, welcome to the show.
Great. Well, thanks for having us, Keith. Thank you very much.
Hey, guys, if we could start with, for our listeners, what led you into becoming real estate investors? I mean, was it something that you kind of knew you always wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
Yeah, well, this is Gene speaking, and it was something I think anybody who's ever thought about running their own business has thought about, buying, fixing, and selling houses. And even when I was in college, I thought, wow, that might be an opportunity, but I didn't know how to get started. And then, after a couple of years of being graduated, I ran back into a friend that I went to high school with, and he was doing this business at a very high level, and the opportunity kind of presented itself, and I was able to jump in and get started.
Excellent. And what personal attributes, traits, or qualities do you guys think have most contributed to the success that you guys have had?
Well, this is Gene again, and I think what's given us longevity in the business, we've been doing it for a long time, and definitely in a very competitive market. And I think one of the things that is important is that we put a lot of value on relationships. Doing wholesaling, meaning buying property very cheap and then selling it for a little bit more expensive to another tier investor, can be a challenging business. And one thing we always did is put the relationships first so that our customers would continually come back to us, as well as when people had properties to sell us, they knew that we would perform as we had originally promised that we would perform. So definitely putting relationships first is very helpful, and I think having some pretty good salesmanship is also very helpful in this industry.
Excellent. I guess could you guys give us maybe an example of when your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Yeah, this is Angelo speaking. One of the first deals Gene and I did was a property that we bought at night. We went and I looked at the property. It was at nighttime. And I tell you that because then the property was beautiful. Had beautiful tile throughout. It was in the right neighborhood for the right price. But at night, I didn't notice the giant structure crack that went around the whole back of the property. So that was the first ever deal Gene and I did, and it took us probably a good 7-8 months to sell it, and we lost a boatload of money on it. And but we're still partners because we put the relationship over the money, and we realized that there was there's bigger fish to fry down the line.
Excellent. I'm guessing from that point forward, maybe you try to look at the houses during the daytime?
Well, we don't make that mistake twice.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously that was kind of a hurdle you guys hit. Could you talk a little bit about some of the other adversities or trials that you've had to overcome as you've built success?
You mean besides 2007, 8, 9, and 10?
Well, yeah, minor details in the real estate market.
Well, we've kind of had to rebuild this business like 3 times now, and it was once we were originally with a different firm way back when, and so we got started at that time, and then we left that firm and we had to start over, and then we got crushed in 2007 and 8, so we pretty much started over again. So it's kind of like our third time doing this business. So there's been a lot of adversity, and there's constant adversity because there is no business without risk. Every time we buy a property, though we have empirical data about what the property could be worth, we have a lot of knowledge and experience of what something would cost to renovate it, there's always a chance that we didn't see everything, or that a contractor takes longer than necessary, or that an appraiser appraises it lower than necessary, or that we keep it. So every property has challenges, or that you get in trouble with a past code violation that maybe you didn't know at first and it comes back to haunt you. So there's a lot of different things that we've dealt with. One thing that we try to do, though, is keep our pipeline full, because if you're only doing one deal at a time, the slightest bit of adversity can drive you mental. So having a bunch of them in the pipeline, a bunch of deals in the pipeline, keeps you from going too crazy over any one particular problem.
Excellent. And I guess what keeps you guys going? I mean, obviously you said you ran into all these things, you ran into the market bust, you've reinvented yourself 3 times. You know, what's your guys' driving force? What's your passion that keeps moving you forward in this business?
Well, this is Angelo. This is a simple one. I mean, Gene and I are both driven by the will to show our kids how to succeed. So our families mean the world to us. So that was definitely a driving factor. But above and beyond that is we're just not quitters, man. For better or for worse, we'll stand in there, we'll take the punches, and Gene and I just don't have a quitting bone in our body. So I actually remember back to the specific time, back in, I think it was 2008, the end of 2008, when Gene and I were sitting down saying, well, are we going to keep going, or are we going to just spend it all and go down, die trying? And we both kind of looked at each other, and we knew it was go down swinging. And then we were marketing more at the end of 2008 than we probably were, in the good years. And we were going crazy with marketing. And it really, that's just kind of our DNA. Just two guys that are not going to quit.
I think at 2009, the market started coming back a little by little, and we were able to kind of make it through without going totally broke. So, yeah, definitely we're persistent. We have families to feed. We know that this is a great business, and we have a great business model, and we're established in this particular market. And honestly, we don't really know anything else to do that could give us this kind of lifestyle. Freedom of time, freedom of doing different business opportunities and being with our family when we want to. So we push on.
Now, obviously, on this show, we actually have a lot of times we have a lot of high-end realtors. We've had people like Jade Mills out of California who's done like $4 billion in book business. So we primarily focus on from the real estate realtor side. So I guess, can you tell our listeners or talk a little bit about, I guess, we obviously know what the market crash did to the realtor side. How did it affect you in the same way, or from a real estate investor side, how does that differ, or how is it similar?
Well, this is Gene again speaking. We own a real estate company called Bank on a Realty, and I've been a realtor since 2000 or 2001. But I've always really only used my real estate license for our own deals, to have access to the MLS, for comping, to access for REOs, to buy, to get comps. So we've always been real estate agents. But what happened is, the market just stopped. Just pretty much overnight. Like, it was totally unexpected. Though you look back and you go, the writing was on the wall, and we should have known, and blah blah blah. But it really just stopped. And so we were able to buy deals. See, as a real estate investor, half the time you're buying deals, and half the time you're selling deals. And in 2008 and 2009, you could buy deals, but there was a limited amount of buyers that, one, had cash, two, that had credit, or three, that had the moxie to get back into the business and start buying. The most brilliant people were the ones that jumped in 2007 and 2008 and 2009 and bought and held on to their real estate. So it was a very tough time, because even though we knew these were great opportunities, letting people know that these were great deals, people were very sketchy about the market. They were sketchy about their own jobs, especially here in Florida. We got crushed. I know everywhere in the country got crushed, but I think South Florida and many places in Florida got crushed worse than most of the other states, except for maybe like Arizona or Nevada. They had really bad declines also, because they had very high price increases, just like we did. And we're still the state that's second farthest away from the peak values of 2006. And because a lot of people really got hurt here, and it really fell. It went up really fast in the early 2000s, but man, it's taken many years to kind of get back to where the original price, the peak prices, like many states already are.
In my opinion, this is Angelo. In my opinion, too, I think it's one thing to be a realtor and have the decline. It just affects your income. For Gene and I, we owned a bunch of properties at the time, and when your properties that you had rented and whatnot, the value goes from, say, $100,000 down to $20,000 overnight. That affects your long-term wealth. That, to me, is a harder hit in the pocket than your income. So I think that's the main difference between realtors and investors.
Sure. And then just to add to that, when you have properties that might have negative income, meaning where you have to pay a little bit more than the rent is bringing down, and you don't have that money to cover it, it's a recipe for disaster.
Excellent. And I guess kind of looking forward, guys, what do you guys see as your vision for your business over the next 5 years? Are you seeing, you mentioned before, the writing might have been on the wall. Are you seeing another, a cyclical event coming where things might be changing, or how are you guys looking forward, say, over the next 5 years?
Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball. We're not some amazing economists. And, I think anybody that tries to predict the future is, they're just lucky if they got it right, and most of the time they talk out of both sides of their mouth, and with a lot of ifs and thens. So I don't know. We take everything day by day. I don't particularly see any type of crash. Do I maybe see the market tapering off and plateauing? Well, I can see that happening, and I don't even think that would be a bad thing. I think we've got an election coming up. I think there may be a little bit of a slowdown, right before the election and maybe right after the election. Waiting to see, what happens. But long term, I think the economy is very brisk. I think our cycles are, 15 to 20 years, and I think we're not even 10 years into the new real estate cycle. So barring any major catastrophes, I think the real estate market, especially, depending upon your local market, has a chance to continue to increase and thrive. Now, of course, we're in South Florida, and there's a lot of people want to live in Florida, and especially South Florida. I'm not saying that's the same in every town where maybe there's a huge factory, and that factory is taking their business overseas, and then that area is going to be really hit because there's such loss of jobs in that particular area. But I think as a whole, real estate and I think the economy should be okay. Our goals are to pay off all our rental properties, pay off all of our debt, so that we can have some passive income, so we retired, even though we won't be retired, but the ideal situation is to have, a good amount of money coming in passively while having very low debt.
Right, and to answer your question, this is Angelo, to answer your question more specifically, where do we see our business in the next 5 years, not the business, would be, Gene and I are focusing really hard with those flipping guys on starting a mentorship program. And I really see in the next 5 years us blowing that out of the water.
Excellent. And I guess kind of, on top of that, you guys mentioned marketing earlier and investing in that kind of stuff. What do you guys feel the best way that you market yourself as real estate investors so you can have continual growth? I guess you can keep those deals flowing, I guess, from, a buying standpoint where you're getting the houses, and then obviously an investor standpoint, you mentioned wholesaling where you're turning and flipping them over to other people.
Yeah, always. ALL. Always. You got to do everything. Marketing is a relentless task. We do a ton of stuff on the internet. We do direct mail. We have great relationships with REO agents, other wholesalers, other real estate investors. We have our show that's on the internet right now. So Gene and I are never-ending marketing machines. I mean, everything we do is some sort of a promotion, and all we're doing it for is in hopes to be able to buy a deal or sell a deal.
Now, let's say I'm a homeowner and I have a house. I want to get rid of it, so let's say I come across your site, I come across one of your ads somewhere, which would be, I guess, your bank on it. Is that correct?
Well, if you're a distressed seller, you would probably find us on the internet through our website. It's a telephone number, a domain name, and a kind of a slogan all in one. It's 888-4U2-SELL. The number 4, the letter U, the number 2, sell. And that's how we market on the internet usually.
All right, so let's say I come across that site, and I think some people might have a misconception. They understand, I think, from a market standpoint that okay, I can either try to for sale by owner, I can try to do this on my own, I can get a realtor. I don't think people maybe know that they have another option as much that you guys offer them. Can you talk maybe a little bit about what the biggest misconception might be that people might have about working with real estate investors like yourself?
I think, one, they think that we're going to just offer them 2 cents on the dollar. We get a lot of that. Or we get the opposite. They think that we're going to pay as much as they would get as if they had hired a realtor, and that's not the case either. The one thing that we do, the other thing is that they feel that if their house may be in a little bit of a distressed situation as far as condition, or if they're hoarders or what have you, they think that we might come in and insult them and tell them how ugly their house is or something like that. And we handle everybody with real professionalism. We try to sympathize and empathize with all their situations, and we like to leave people with their dignity. Basically, all we're looking for is a win-win situation. We need to buy it at a price that where we could buy it, fix it up and sell it and make a profit. And those sellers, they need to sell it at a price that gets them out from underneath the burden or the debt or the stress that they have. And if those two numbers match, then we can have a deal. And that's the way we like it.
Excellent. And let's say that somebody's looking to sell. They got a distressed situation. They really don't want to go about it themselves. They really, they don't want to deal with a realtor and this and that. So let's say they're looking for an investor, and we know there's many different companies out there that offer what you do, and they may not be as good as you guys. But from a general advice standpoint, what would you tell? Let's say you got a call from a family member up in another state where maybe you guys don't, work as much. What advice would you give them about selecting a company that's like yours, that's going to take care of their clients? Like you said, you sympathize, you empathize, you don't go in and try to insult people, you try to help them with their situation. What would you tell people to look for in a company that you feel that they could trust and they could potentially, work with?
One of the things that is a telltale sign is when you call, they answer the phone. It sounds so basic, but it is so profound. The other thing is Gene and I have been fighting really hard to be professional in a not so professional business. So, what I'm trying to say is it's a very low barriers to entry in real estate investing. And everyone that's ever tried it thinks they want to start off as a wholesaler. They'll get, you can pick up a phone or call off a letter and just, use your gut instinct. If the person sounds like, they're not someone that could afford to buy your house, trust that, If you call and there's just one number, it's a cell number, and there's no message, it just goes to voicemail, and that's a problem. If there's not an office number on there, you can't Google these people and find that they have an established local business, then I say you use someone who does. That's one of the things we come across all the time is these poor homeowners will be getting jerked around for months and months and months, and some guy who, does everything working out of the back of his car hasn't been answering his phone, and it's, and they get this bad taste in their mouth about investors, but when they're just dealing with a rookie. So just make sure you're dealing with a professional company, make sure they have an office, make sure they answer their phone, and, you kind of know what it takes to buy a house cash. Make sure that person, seems like they can do that. That's important. Yeah. And two other things, just as a seller, get a proof of funds, that like a bank statement that they really have the funds to close it, and of course something that has very little contingencies in the contract and a very short inspection period, if any. That's where it's a real deal.
Now, guys, you mentioned obviously you do a lot of work and you're based out of South Florida. Do you have a specific area, like let's say we have listeners who, which are all over the United States, and is there specific areas where you could offer your services to people?
Yeah, well, of course, we buy and sell throughout Florida. That's where we live, and specifically South Florida. But we do business throughout the entire state. With those flipping guys in our mentoring program, our coaching program, that's something they can apply our system to really anywhere in the country. And that's really one of our ultimate goals, is to grow that aspect. We've learned so much over the years. We've made all the mistakes. I hope we've made all the mistakes so far. And we really can share a lot of information as well as our systems and our techniques with people that they can apply really in any market around the country. We have a gentleman up in Greensboro, South Carolina that started with us 3 or 4 months ago, and he'd been at the business for several years, and then within the first month of working with us, he had his company set up. He had a website for buyers. He had a website for sellers, and he's already bought about 5 properties in the last few months. Many of them with seller financing, some with hard money, and some with a little bit of cash that he had. And he's just so happy because the knowledge is there. We coached him. We helped push him through some of the questionable situations. We give him the confidence when maybe there was fear. And the guy is really, really excelling. He's a great guy. He has a lot of ability, and but we were able to kind of help him get up and running at a very quick pace.
Excellent. So I guess there's 2 things that we want to point out for our listeners here, and we want to make sure we get them to the right place. Obviously, you just mentioned if one of our listeners is listening and they have an interest in real estate investing and they want to get some coaching and some training, that would be your website, thoseflippingguys.com, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, and then on the other side, let's say we have a listener that happens to be in the Florida area. Maybe they're a homeowner. Maybe they've been thinking about, I want to get out of this situation. What would be the best place for that person to contact you if they're interested in maybe getting an offer on selling their house to you?
The best one would be 888-4U2SELL, www.888-4U2SELL. They can put their information in there. Angelo and I get all those emails. We reach out to everybody personally, and that would be the best way if they're looking to sell their property. And if somebody wanted to get involved with buying, fixing up, and selling a property or building a rental portfolio in Florida, they should go to our website, bankonit.com, as in you can bank on it. We'll kind of keep everything a little bit separate, just so because there's actually 3 completely separate segments of our business and 3 separate brands.
All right, so just to recap, so we got Those Flipping Guys, that's going to be coaching and training to teach people how to do what you guys do.
Right.
We got the 888 for you to sell, which is for a homeowner that might be looking to sell, and then obviously other potential people that might want to invest in the properties you purchase, which would be bankonit.com. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Thank you for summarizing that, so.
All right. I just want to make sure everybody knows. And what we'll do, too, obviously, we want to thank Angelo. We want to thank Gene. Thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule to come here and share your real estate investment experience with our listeners. And if anybody's listening and you want to learn more about these guys, there's obviously 3 websites. What we're going to do to make it easy for everybody, below this interview, I'll put a little description of each one like I just summarized, and we'll have a link to each one of their websites. So whether you're looking to get involved in investing, whether you're an investor and you're looking for some properties, or if you're a homeowner and maybe you want to sell your house, you'll be able to reach out to these guys and see if they can help you achieve what you'd like to achieve. So with that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.